Today on Marae Investigates, we head to Te Wairarapa to see if the long-finned tuna is being fished out of existence.
They really didn't give a rat's bum about how we caught the eels. As long as we got the export tonnage up and the money was coming, that was as good as gold.
We don't want to trade them into extinction.
Then we dive into the government's proposed changes to the Resource Management Act, freshwater and improving water quality. And later,
they either labelled me as a competition designer or a Māori designer, not as a viable business.
we catch up with Kiri Nathan, who's taking her Kiwi-centric fashion to the world. E ngā kure a kuima a koroma tēnā rā koutou katoa, a tamari e and welcome to Marae Investigates. Te hopu tuna, te tuku tuna rānei. Koera te pātai e hiahiana tētahi rōpū tiaki tuna, kia ā te whakaaro hiake e te marea whānui o Aotearoa. Kei te haria he rārangi ingoa a tete i te hopu tuna ki te whare pāremata i tēnei wiki. Ko te tūmanako kia rāhuitia te haonga o te kū wharu, he momo tuna tērā. I haere tātātou manu rerehua, a Carmen Pārahi ki te Wairarapa, he hapori hopu tuna tērā, ki te rapu ake i o rātou whakaaro.
It's part of our whakapapa, the tuna.
We don't want to trade them into extinction.
If we continue to commercially yield, that would affect our customary take.
Ko ia te tangata tuna o te Wairarapa. I ngā tau o mua ki konei a Matt Paku e mauhere ana i ngā tuna mo te hoko. Kei wainga i te toru me te whāmano kiro karamu tuna ka tangohia i a wiki.
A lot of people looked at them and went, oh, bloody slimy old eels, who the hell wants to catch that? So, to me, I looked at the Crown in those days is that they really didn't give a rat's bum about how we caught the eels. As long as we got the export tonnage up and the money was coming, that was as good as gold.
He pērā ngā tuna ki te hauhake kaura i te tīmatanga. Engari, he toru te koutou ki muri, ka pau haere ngā tuna.
I started up a smoked eel business, which boomed. But I couldn't get the quality of eels in the Wairarapa or in the North Island, actually. That really enlightened us that, hey, there's something wrong here. We've taken all our big tuna.
Ko tēnei tuna, tētahi o ngā momo tuna nui o te ao. E kia nei ko te kū wharu i te Wairarapa.
Hey, it was good money in catching tuna. And my people were against it, me doing it.
Do you feel guilty about that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Kei te pupuri tonu i a Matt, ngā hea mo te hopu tuna, engari hei tāna kaore ia i te whakamahi i aua hea.
I had to survive. But now if it was to happen again and knowing what I know, I would not go there.
You absolutely believe that the longfin tuna is in danger?
Yes, I do. I do.
A, e nāi nei kua huri tēnei kai hi tuna, hei kai tiaki tuna.
I put them in here and feed them and look after them, and they don't get eaten. They're just here for my mokopuna and people to see. And here she is here.
Kei a Matt tētahi mō kai ku wharu, e ono te koutou pēr tana pakike, ko motu wairaka tana ingoa, te ingoa hoki o tōna marae.
I suppose in days gone by we have eaten them, but now because of the rarity of them and the overfishing of them and really no management around the fishing of them, and they're so easy to catch in the rivers, is that they're disappearing. You know, there's a few
Kei ngā miriona tau ngā ku wharu, e noho kai ngāna ki Aotearoa. Ka tupu ake i te tahi rautau me te 5 mita te roa.
very few and far between.
He rereke te rahi, te kiri kū whewhe me te tata o te pakihau ki te upoko, o te kū wharu ki tērā o te tuna heke.
Quality's not there, they move.
Ko ngā tuna katoa i hinaki ana ki raro i tētahi pūnaha hea, e whakahaere tia ana e te manatū ahu matua. Aha koa kei tētahi rārangi whakatū pato ngā kū wharu.
They taste basically the same, but we prefer to eat the one that they're more abundant than the other ones, and they're not at risk.
He pōturi te tupuranga o ngā ku wharuwharu, ka heke mai ngā awa o uta, ki tai ki te whakawhānau he kotahi wā o tana oranga katoa. Kei nei whakāhua motuhake e whakātu ana I ngā pēpi ku wharuwharu, e hoki ana ki uta o te wairarapa, mai te moana.
My people here, we've eaten elva. We eat elva like we eat whitebait. We've stopped doing that, simply because we now recognise where we are with the eels.
Kei te āwhina e nei whakaro I te oranga o ngā ku wharuwharu huri noa I te rohe. I ngā rā o mua, ki ana te awa o rua mahanga I ngā ku wharuwharu mo te hoko. E nānei he paruparu ke. Ki konei mātou ko ngā māngai mo ngā iwi e rua o te Wairarapa, ara a ngā te kaungunu ki Wairarapa me rangitāne o Wairarapa e tūtaki ana. Kei rāhaki ngā take tō rangapū, kia kotahi te whakaro mo te oranga o ngā ku wharuwharu. Kia rāhui ai I te rohe whānui o te Wairarapa me ētahi wāhi o Manawatū I te hinakitanga o ngā ku wharuwharu.
We know that we can make an application to the Ministry of Primary Industries to regulate or regulate the commercial take in a particular area.
The reason why we want to ban at the moment is so that we can replenish our stocks of longfin tuna.
Kei te marama ngā iwi e rua he take tauto he tēnei. Nā te mea, ko te Māori ngā kaipupuri hea nui o te ika a Māui.
To be fair, we're very unhappy about that quota system. I think if you took a close look at fish quotas in and around Wairarapa and the return that comes to Wairarapa, they don't match up.
Kua aukate ngā iwi e rua nei I ngā kaihina ki tuna e whakamahi ana I ngā raihana Māori ki tō rātou rohe.
Our people did trade, and we did trade eel, so there's a time when we want to trade eel, but we don't want to trade them into extinction.
He rua te kau o rau o ngā tuna kua hinaki mo te hoko, kei te Māori mo te hauhake tuku iho. Kei te hia rātau, kia tau toko o rātau uri, mā te hinaki noiho I te tuna heke, me te whakaiti I te maha ka tangohia.
We really want to protect, we really want to also ensure that they can flourish in those situations rather than just living on life support. Ko
Joseph Paul Tangaroa e whakarite ana I āna hinaki, engari te kai I tāna I hopu ai.
What are their names, Cameron?
Pepe, Pangoa and Iti.
He taonga ngā ku paruparu, nā whai anō kua tuhi puka ia.
Their life cycle's fascinating. They spend most of their lives in the inland waterways, and then at the beginning and end they go out to sea.
Mai. Oh, she's come to see us already.
Kei te tautoko a Joseph I tētahi pitihana ki te pārimata, kia rāhui ai ngā ku wharuwharu e hopu ana mo te hoko.
Do you believe they are endangered?
I think the moratorium's a good idea. Yeah. Until we really know, we just risked extinction.
Kaore a Matt Paku e whakapono ana, nā ngā kaihi tuna te raru nui o te heketanga o ngā ku wharuwharu. Hei tāna kei te pai hoki ngā mahi a ngā kaihi tuna ki te tiaki tuna. Kei te mahi tahi rātau kia tika ngā ture.
The management around the commercial eel fisheries really needs to be tightened up.
Kei te whakaia me rāhui te hi ku wharuwharu.
The effects of commercial fishing across the world is that a lot of these countries have less than 5% of their wild stock in their waters now. They have actually put a total ban on it.
Hei tā, Matt, ko te ahu moana te oranga mo a popo.
They actually just catch the alba as it's coming back in from the breeding stock. It comes in every year, and millions of them. They're allowed to take a certain amount of them and put them into their farms.
Ka upoko pakuru tonu a Matt Paku ki te tiaki ia motu wairaka, tai atu ki te wā kia wehe ai ia ki te moana.
We want to look after these fellas. We've enjoyed their company and they've been a good food source to us, but they've just been thrashed basically. The commercial sector, we've just taken too much of it.
I whakapātu mātou ki te minita i ngā take ahumahi matua kia Nathan Guy mo āna whakautu, kāre ia i wātea mai. I tono hoki mātou i ngā māngai o te manatu ahumahi kia noho ki tā mātou pai kōrero i te ata nei, kāre hoki rātau i wātea mai. Engari i tukuna mai tēnei whakatau. E aro nui ana te manatu ki te oranga tonutanga o ngā momo tuna katoa, kei te ata wānanga hia ngā kōrero hou, whai take hoki ka tai mai kia mātou. E ai ki wā mātou raraunga, i piki ke te maha o ngā kū wharu i roto i te wairarapa i te taurua mano mā whitu, he raraunga hou ka puta i ngā kaipū taiao, hei te mahuru o tēnei tau. Well, joining me now is our commentator Willie Jackson. And Willie, while we're talking about tuna, the tuna from the north is back on the front bench of the Labour Party.
Shane Jones is back, and it's great news for the Labour Party, great news for Māori. The Labour Party need him.
Why do they need Shane Jones?
Well, their Māori MPs are weak.
Parekura and Nanaia
look,
weak.
Parekura's just hanging around for the wages. You see that every week when he's on Te Karere with you. Nanaia doesn't look interested.
Why doesn't Labour replace those two?
I just need to give you a full review here. Lewissa Ward's more interested in marrying her wife than Māori issues. Who's the other one we've got? Oh, the fella from the south.
Oh, Rino.
Yeah, lovely man, but, you know, just not doing anything. You know, lovely fella. So they're so weak that they need someone like Jones back in there. Shane's got everything. You know, he's as fluent in English as he is in Māori. You know, it's almost like James Henare revisited. Problem is, Shane hasn't been. There's not. He was talking about all this energy he had. Well, we've yet to see it in Auckland, Shane. And if he starts applying the energy, you got someone who could be one of the great Māori MPs here. No doubt about it.
There's no doubt about that, but he keeps on making mistakes.
Yeah, I don't know, there might be his Te Arawa side or something. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. But you know, the porno stuff, I thought he was dead and buried over the porno stuff. The porno scandal, I thought, that's the end of Shane. He comes back from the dead. Then this one, he was very lucky to get out of this one. I'm not sure how he got out of it, but he got out of it, and good on him. Good on him, and it's an opportunity, and I'm really hoping, Māoridom is hoping that this guy's going to fire, because the world's his oyster, and Shearer needs him. Shearer's not just weak with his Māori caucus, he's weak with his Pākehā caucus. Shane could have been the first Māori Prime Minister if he hadn't had this tendency to fall over himself all the time.
We've got a couple of big issues to discuss shortly, Willie. That's the RMA and the Resource Management Act, and of course the Māori Party. But
what's happening there?
Well, I'll tell you now. No tēnei wiki I tīmata i ngā hui a te kāwanatanga, e pāna ki ngā panonitanga ki te ture whakahaere rawa, tai atu ki ngā kaupapa tiaki me te whakarauiri I te wai Māori. I mauake I a Kiri Nathan o te Karere, te minita I ngā take taiao a Amy Adams I aia I Rotorua. Nā, ko te pātai tuatahi ki te minita, he aha ona hiahia mo e nei hui.
So really it's about having a chance to have a conversation with wider New Zealand about our thoughts on resource management reform and freshwater reform. And we've been talking a lot for a long time with you know, the Freshwater Iwi Leaders Group and a number of different interest groups in developing these proposals, but this is our chance to take the conversation out to the whole public and hear what their thoughts are, because we are proposing some pretty significant reforms. They're reforms that are designed to make it easier and cheaper for Kiwis to get on with their lives and know what they can and can't do, and they're reforms designed to make sure our water gets on a track to better management for now, for generations to come. It's a long process, but you know, we've got to make a start.
What are some of the biggest changes at this stage?
So the biggest changes at this stage in resource management reform are about making sure we get to decisions cheaper and quicker, so that people can find out what they can and can't do, they know up front, and we don't have this process where people can go on and on and on through the courts if they've got enough money to get the right answer. We've got to have plans that provide for the needs of our community and that do it in a way that everyone's involved in and it doesn't rely on how much money you've got to get those decisions. And in the water space, the biggest changes are around making sure we have a collaborative approach so that communities can choose what they want for their water based on information we give them from the centre with the best science, the best information, you know, based on what we've got to start getting some good long-term management of our water.
What will the role of iwi?
Yeah, so I think iwi's got a big role in these reforms, particularly around freshwater management, because we recognise that the deep intrinsic cultural importance of water to iwi, and we recognise that they've got some very valid rights and interests that have to be addressed in water reform, and we've committed to them being integral to every step in the process. And as I say, we've had a process over the last couple of years to get to this point, and that will continue over the next few years as we work through the issues. And in resource management, what we want to make sure is that every council around the country is properly engaging with iwi. At the moment, some do it well, some really don't do it at all, and that's not good enough. We want to have some clear expectations around how councils should engage with iwi, but obviously for those who've got treaty settlements, none of that changes, so where they've got arrangements in place, that stays the same. But for those who haven't, we want to make sure there's some minimum expectations set around what councils need to do to work with iwi to make sure they've got real meaningful input into plans.
I see there are improvements being made to make the role of iwi more clear. Yeah. What sort of improvements are we looking at?
So what we've said in resource management, first of all, is that at the moment councils just have an obligation to consult with iwi, and that can mean a whole lot of things to a whole lot of people, and a lot of people have got pretty bad experiences with what that means. We're lifting that up and saying that's not enough. You need to have, as a council, you need to have a formal arrangement by which you will work with iwi and they can provide real, meaningful, effective input into the final decision making of plans, but also saying to councils you should be working with iwi from early on and developing the plans and the thinking behind them. So we're setting some pretty clear expectations as to how councils should work with all their local iwi.
Along with cutting costs, I suppose, is reducing the ability to appeal. That's going to affect iwi significantly.
Oh, look, I think it's going to be a positive impact, actually, because what we want to do is we want the council to make decisions that really properly pick up what their communities want. And once they've made those decisions, we want to make sure the courts can't change what a community decisions. The courts have got a key role in making sure that councils have followed proper process and properly applied the rules and the wishes of community. But we need communities to make decisions about value judgments in their communities. And once they've done that, I don't think anyone benefits if this thing goes years and years and years through the courts. And that's pretty expensive, you know. You've got to have a lot of money to keep filing appeals and keep going. So we want to make sure that good decisions are made early in the process, that they really pick up all community interests, and that the courts have a role to make sure that processes work well, but not to replace what the communities want.
How's that been received in the previous meetings?
So it's interesting. We're proposing some pretty big reform, and I think that's a good thing. And people take a little while to get their heads around what we're proposing and why, but I think there's a general level of acceptance that we can do this stuff better. We can look after our water better, we can make decisions as communities better, we can plan for the needs of our community. You know, this is about how easy it is to create jobs, how cheap it is to buy a house, you know, where you can go to school and have hospitals. This is stuff that matters to New Zealanders, and they want to know that they can be involved in a meaningful way and that they won't have to spend years and years and hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, to fight the battles out time and time again. So I think people see the need to change and they're pretty interested.
Out of curiosity, how, on the national scale, how healthy is our water?
Yeah, look, that's an interesting point. International. Yeah, look, in Rotorua you have had some really interesting and troublesome lakes, but you've been making some good progress too in recent years. Overall, we still have some of the best water in the world, but it is getting worse. And there are particular areas of New Zealand where the water quality is deteriorating, and we can't afford that to continue. We have to get our water on a track to improvement, but we also have to recognise it's been 100 years to get to this point, and it's going to take a long time to fix it. But we've got to start now, and we've got to start getting on that track to improving water. But overall, we still have some of the best water in the world, but we want to keep it that way.
Do you know roughly how much you could be saving with this reform?
Oh, look, part of it's around saving money. For government, actually not a whole lot. It's not about us. It's mostly around the fact that every time you have a consent application that gets appealed, you know, it's often millions of dollars, and that's money that's coming out of Kiwis' pockets and their power bills and their rates bills and their tax bills. It's money that's not being spent on our kids and our health and our jobs, and we want to say, actually, let's have processes that get to good decisions much quicker so we can get on with things and spend money where it matters.
Cool.
And that's Environment Minister Amy Adams talking about changes to the Resource Management Act. Willie, council's required to have formal arrangements with iwi. That's got to be a good thing for Māori.
Well, that sounds good from Amy. Problem is I don't trust the Nats. You see, when you're looking at changes to the RMA, you automatically think with the National Party it's about giving some of their mates, some of their rich mates, property developers, more access to our land. That's the problem, and that's why I was talking to Tūroro Flavel on Wātea about this, and he's sort of following it through for the Māori Party, because we have treaty clauses too. So that side of things sounds okay, but where do our treaty clauses stand? You know, there's got to be obligations to the treaties. So that was a good front from Amy, but we need to keep following that through.
So is this a good kaupapa for Shane Jones to relaunch himself in the Labour Party?
It's a big kaupapa for Shane. Shane's the one who can really target what's happening here, because Māori could be very vulnerable here. Māori Party are taking it up. Jonesy needs to get onto it, you know. No more mistakes from Jonesy.
And you spoke about Tūroro Flavel just earlier, and we heard on Q&A earlier on that there could be some leadership challenge happening again today, or they're discussing the leadership today?
Look, there's no doubt there is a leadership challenge. And the Māori Party have done a they handle themselves well. You know, everyone thinks they love each other, but I think there's a bit of hutta in that party at the moment. There's a bit of resentment, and if you're on Sharple's side, you could understand why, because clearly they're running a campaign against them. Pen Bird, Tariana Tudia and Tūroro Flavel. It's clear as a bell. They want Pete Sharples to get out, and we, you know, anyone who's sort of been following it closely can see that Pete doesn't want to go.
But should he fall on his sword, or should he?
No, well, I see it's a very tough one. Now, Pete probably should have fallen on a sword. He shouldn't have been standing next time. He made a decision to stand. Now that he's made a decision to stand, the Māori Party, in a way, almost have to wear it. So they have to find some sort of arrangement where you bring Te Ururo through as the co-leader. Peter Sharples maintains his mana as a minister. There has to be some type of arrangement like that. But never before in New Zealand politics have you seen leaders running against each other like this. We've actually got, and I know she won't like me saying this, Tariana, but her and Tūroro are running a campaign against their co-leader. It's clear as a bell. Very sad. Well, but we like them all, don't we, Scotty? We want them on Marae Investigate.
Yes, we all like a bit of drama, don't we? Thank you very much, Willie, and take care of those fingers too. Take care of those fingers. Ko rongo ke tātou I ngā kōrero mō ngā kākahu o Trelise Cooper rāua ko Karen Walker. Engari ko rongo rānei tātou I ngā kōrero mō ngā kākahu o Kiri Nathan. Mena e hane pi ana te hinengaro mōna no tēnei tau nei. Taua uri o Tainui Waka me ngā puhi I whakarewa ai I ōna ke kākahu ki te ao whānui. Me te aha, nā te āwhina me te tautoko a ngā tohunga whatu kākahu o Aotearoa, e hoama kua tīmata ke ia ki te piki I ngā taumata. Anei anō a Carmen Parahi.
Kei te mihini whatu kākahu a Kiri Nathan, kia rite mo te kaupeka hoko kākahu o te koanga me te raumati.
I love what I do. I love what I do. I get up every day and I love coming to work. I'll see things in my everyday life that will inspire me, and I'll draw a sketch, and so I'll make a paper pattern, and then I'll take that and I'll go and source a fabric specific to that pattern and I'll design that way. The reality of this occupation is it's a lot of work, so you have to love what you do or you just won't sustain it.
How much would a gown like this cost?
Originally, like if I was to make it from scratch, you'd probably be looking at around about $3,000.
Ko ēnei kaka te whatumanua a Kiri, he tohu kākahu kua hangaia e ia I ngā tau e rima kua hori. E whakarearea tana mahi, hei kaimana ki wakarere rangi, kia noho pūmau tēnei māma, ki tōna kāinga ki te tiaki I ana tamariki toko rima.
This particular garment was inspired by my grandparents who have both passed on now, so...
Can we have a look at it?
Yeah, sure.
And why is the museum interested in it, do you think?
The inspiration behind this particular piece was the Māori Battalion.
Ka whakawhiwhia ki aia I te tohuhiranga mō Style Pacifica I te tau 2008. Nā waira ka riro ki aia e tahi atu tohu. He oe, I mōhio ia, me pau tōna kaha, me whakarerea, rānei.
Meeting Anna was absolutely life-changing for me because I was in a space where I wasn't sure where or how to move forward.
Anna Stretton, he toki ia I te ao whatu kākahu. Kei ngā miriona tāra te uara o tana pakihi, toru te kau ana toa hoko ki Aotearoa me Ahitereiria. Nā kiri poi he te kaumā marama ki muri, I te rātau ka mahi tahi rāua ki te whatu I ētahi o ngā kākahu, e kia nei ko Kiri Nathan o Anna Stretton.
People just don't give you those opportunities, and as an up-and-coming or emerging fashion designer, it's just such an incredible opportunity for me, so I'm so grateful.
Nā kiri te maringa nui I whakaatu a Anna, I ngā āhuatanga katoa o tana pakihi hei akoranga mana.
The fashion industry just didn't get it, and so they either labelled me as a competition designer or a Māori designer, not as a viable business.
I've actually enjoyed doing a lot more work with Māori and Pacific Island because it is one area that I think there is so much creative talent that just goes begging because there is no help, for them.
Kei te marama kiri ki te ngāwari o tana uru, ki te ao whatu kākahu, nā whai anō te mōrearea ki tōna whānau.
We decided that we'd take the hit financially and we'd go down to one wage. So I wouldn't have been able to do this unless Jason was in a position to support us. And when I say he's in a position to support us, that's us living on the bare minimum. But because we were both 100% committed to achieving this, I think that has a lot to do with the drive behind why we're trying to achieve things, and why we're trying to achieve it so quickly.
I te marama o hui tāngaru, ko ia te kai hoa kākahu tuatahi no Aotearoa. I whakaitia I te kaunihere o Peritania, kia uru ai ona mahi ki te wiki whakaatu kākahu o Rānana.
I think New Zealanders are so exposed to Māori culture that you can identify what it is immediately, whereas the international market will look at it and just see it as a beautiful technique or a beautiful embellishment, and then once they hear the story, they're very taken, and it's a really lovely story, and it's real. I don't think I ever allowed myself to imagine that I would come here in this capacity, and so it really is quite cheesy, but it really is like a dream come true.
I was completely overwhelmed. It was so much more than what I had expected. I had this image of what London was going to be in my head, and it was just so much more. We had a very small budget, and we were really proud of what we took up there and how we exhibited. Some of them had budgets of $30,000 and more. They exhibited through 3 rooms with scaffolding and lighting and audio visuals, and we kind of walked in like these big wide-eyed, Kiwis just going, wow. It was just really fantastic to be immersed in that, and it was actually really inspiring, and my husband and I have both come home with just got all these ideas buzzing around.
She needs to be producing styling into the market that will sell. I need her to be looking to design garments that are not just about celebrity wearing those garments, but are about real women wanting to buy those garments and wanting to put money into her bank.
Anna takes the beep out of the situation. Yeah, she simplifies it, she breaks it down, and her business model works. So why would I not try and adapt that to my own business?
Nā te kaunihere o Peritania ia, I tukuna atu ki haina kia noho ia hei tauira ki tētahi kai hoa rongonui o te ao, kia Elliot J. Fries.
I think it's really great to talk to people that are successful as creatives, but also people that are successful in business, because if you don't have the two melding together, it's just not going to work. Or it might work, but it'll always be a struggle, and I don't want to put my family through that.
Thanks for joining us. If you want to know what happened to Willie's fingers, watch Good Morning tomorrow. And the weather, well, the kōrero about the weather, I'm just looking at the weather cam at the moment, and it's pouring down in Auckland, so the rain has arrived. Hooray, that's fantastic for all our farmers and everybody else who needs water. But for me, I'll have to cancel my golf game this afternoon. Stay tuned for Waka Huia next. Engari mo tēnei wai e tiwi ka whakamoia te waha o te runanga. E tū poko o te tai I mā takitaki maina I tēnei ata, kia mai te rā.
You absolutely believe that the longfin tuna is in danger?
Yes, I do. The reason why we want a ban at the moment is so that we can replenish our stocks of longfin tuna.
Here she comes now.
I think the moratorium's a good idea. Until we really know, we just risk extinction.
he mea